One of the brilliant additions to the Metropolitan's artistic staff last year was Herbert Graf, the noted European stage director, who has become known especially for his association with the operatic performances under Toscanini's direction at Salzburg. There he staged Die Meistersinger in 1936, The Magic Flute last summer, and during the summer to come will stage a new production of Tannhäuser, which will also be conducted by Toscanini. Among the productions of this year's Metropolitan season that have been staged by him here in New York is the opera to which we are listening this afternoon, and I am sure you will want to hear him tell something of how he has staged this work. It's a great pleasure to present Dr. Herbert Graf.
Backstage, the scenery is being changed to the second act, and it gives me a chance to talk to you a bit about the scenic production of this performance, for we are doing Otello in an entirely new way at the Metropolitan. You may ask, what should a stage production mean to us who are only listeners? My answer is that an opera performance does not consist of singing and orchestra only like a concert. It is made up as well of life on the stage, and this means scenic production, which includes the sceneries, the costumes, the lighting, the action of the principals, chorus and ballet. All these factors are coordinated to the music and are needed to give the unity and mood to the performance which you ought feel when you are listening. As the conductor leads the music, the stage director leads live on the stage. Not long ago, he was a comparatively little-known figure in the opera. In general, it was more or less customary, if the production was good, to compliment the artists, and if it was bad, it was the fault of the stage director. But now, with the influence of the movies, the production is growing increasingly important. The public asks more and more for dramatic truth on the stage. They want to see buildings not painted and waving, but solid and real. They do not believe anymore in the artificial, old-fashioned opera gestures of the singers, but want natural acting and a singer to look like the figure he is representing. I remember a story, by the way, when Toscanini selected a young, good-looking tenor to sing the part of Walter Stolzing for the Meistersinger performance, which I staged in Salzburg. Some people asked the maestro, "You really think this singer can sing the part?" And the maestro answered, "Why not? Because he has no punch." The days when a bay window was necessary for an opera singer are over. Our opera is trying to make its action as convincing and as sympathetic as the motion pictures. But how in the case of Otello is this purpose carried out? The first problem was the question of style and character. Was the opera to be Shakespeare or was it to be Verdi? When I staged my first Otello, I studied Shakespeare well and staged the opera intimately like a play. The next Otello I staged last May at the Florence Festival in Italy with Italian artists. This was an Italian Otello, temperamental, grand opera style. And now I think Otello should be both, Shakespeare and Verdi, not one or the other. By Verdi's music and Boito's book, Shakespeare becomes more operatic, less psychological, more concentrated, with stronger contrasts. Desdemona is still more chaste, Iago still more evil, Otello primitively jealous, and the cultivated Venice from the play disappears, and we are only in Cyprus, the island in the Mediterranean near Africa with its oriental influence. It is a primitive background for primitive passions. So I suggested to our excellent scenic designer Donald Oenslager to keep the sceneries in large and dramatic simple lines and to contrast each act sharply with the other. For the first act, the place near the sea, we had the stage built in different levels in order to get different possibilities for the placing and movements of the chorus. A high staircase leads up to the castle of Otello, so that Desdemona could appear like an angel over the turbulent mass scenes. Oenslager painted this act in terms of black and white. The other acts are in striking contrast. The second act, Otello's peaceful home, intimate, in cheerful sunlight, looking into a garden of flowers. The third act, which brings a dramatic climax, is in deep red. And the last, when Otello murders his beloved Desdemona and then himself, is kept in soft, deep blues. In the same way, with simple lines and contrasts, Frank Bevan designed the costumes. So in the first act, they range from dark colors of the people to to reddish effects of the soldiers, climaxing in the one white costume of the innocent Desdemona. Most important, however, is another factor of the opera production, the acting of principals and chorus, which you have already heard do such fine work in the first act. We are certainly fortunate in having excellent singer-actors like Martinelli, Redberg and Tibet. Tibet was, by the way, the first singer to prove that an opera singer can act as well in movies. But we must remember that all these factors must be coordinated with the music. And for this, nothing is more important than the cooperation between the stage director and the conductor. And it is Maestro Panizza who has this understanding and feeling for the stage values in the highest degree. Finally, I would like to call attention to the importance of the lighting and of all those people behind the scene who are not mentioned on the program and who are essential. The stagehands, the keepers of the wardrobe, the make-up man, the property man, all necessary for the scenic production and consequently for the unity and artistry of the whole performance.
Thank you, Dr. Graf, for this most interesting exposition of the work of operatic stage directing and for helping us to visualize the settings as well as to understand how they have been planned to enhance the effect of the story. And I'm glad, too, that you mentioned those many unsung and non-singing heroes backstage whose services are also essential to the giving of a fine performance. Thank you, sir. And now to return to the second act of Verdi's great opera Otello.